So although Hayden Hackney from Middlesbrough and Dwight McNeil from Everton would be my first choice targets in the central midfield and wing-back positions this summer, I can't help but consider the possibility of triggering the buybacks for both Maxi Oyedele and Alvaro Fernandez. And so in this video I'm going to be explaining why the deals make so much sense financially, analysing what specific attributes both Oyedele and Alvaro Fernandez would bring to the side, before looking at how they would fit into Ruben Amorim's side tactically. So what are the actual buyback clauses in their contracts? So Alvaro Fernandez has a £16.7 million buyback clause, with Oyedele sitting slightly lower at £15 million. However, whilst I'm not 100% sure, there are some reports that say United do have a 50% sell-on clause that also applies if we trigger the buyback clauses, meaning that Alvaro Fernandez could potentially cost £8.4 million and Oyedele 7.5. And if that is the case, I think United have to at least look at bringing them back. To be honest, I think they should have never left. I mean, Ten Hag must have the worst talent ID of any recent manager, because it was clear that Alvaro Fernandez deserved game time at left back, with Malacia and Shaw being consistently injured throughout last season, and how Ten Hag preferred Toby Collier to Maxi Oyedele, I'll never understand, because if you look at what the United midfield desperately needs, both this season and last, Oyedele fits that bill. But what exactly is that? But before I carry on with the analysis, if you want to check out any cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to dragonjersey.com. They sent me over one of their retro shirts, this Manchester United 2006-2007 long sleeved home shirt with Ronaldo 7 on the back, which may be my favourite jersey of all time, with Ronaldo's performance that season making it even more iconic. They've also got other retro and current season jerseys available, and depending on where you live you can get 7 to 12 day delivery time. If you use code Atlantis at checkout, you will get a discount for a limited time, so I'll leave it linked in the description and in the comments section below. So back to Oyedele. Now, it's no secret that with Casemiro and Eriksen as options, United do lack athleticism, intensity and the ability to cover large distances in midfield. Someone who can race back and make recovery tackles in order to stop attacks. And as Oyedele has shown multiple times for Legia Warsaw this season, including against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, he's more than capable of doing this. See, what I like about Oyedele is that he could be used as a more limited destructive ball winner, sitting as the deepest midfielder behind the play, being ready to shuttle across and break up attacks in a way that Casemiro can't because of his declining athleticism, and Ugarte doesn't really specialise in, being a ball winner who's far more comfortable when stepping forward into the press, looking to make a tackle or jump in front to make an interception in order to win the ball back, rather than being an anchor man whose job it is to anticipate play and move across in order to stop counter-attacking opportunities. However, Oyedele's game isn't just limited to a destructive one, as in the build-up phase he's more than capable of receiving those shorter passes from either the goalkeeper or the centre-backs and being able to bounce a ball first time around the pressure, whilst also having the technical ability combined with the turn of pace to be able to wriggle out of pressure before driving forward into the open space. Now at the moment, I wouldn't say he excels when it comes to his ball carrying or dribbling, as he's not yet doing it consistently enough, but he has shown he does have the ability to do this, so this is something that could definitely be developed in his game. But it's his passing that really catches the eye in possession, as he's able to sit between the opposition's midfield and forward lines, opening up passing lanes to receive the ball to feet and then when in possession, rather than always looking for the easy sideways or backwards option just to keep play circulating, which I find Collier does far too often, Oyedele has a vision and technical ability to be able to split the midfield with an incisive pass between the lines, and I would actually make the case that give him a season back at United and he could actually be a better progressive passer than Ugarte is currently. Now don't get me wrong, in terms of his forward passing he's not on the same level as someone like Hayden Hackney, though Oyedele is far better defensively and much more of a destructive recovery ball winner, compared with Hackney who's more of a creative playmaker. Although Oyedele's physicality and athleticism does make him very appealing, which is why if we couldn't get Hackney for around £20 million, I think Oyedele could be a good alternative option. And even with Hackney as well, the price of £7.5 million is such great value for money that I think it may be worth bringing Oyedele back anyway. But for now, let's say we go with Oyedele instead of Hackney, alongside my main central midfield target Manu Kone from Roma. That would mean United going from Hackney to Oyedele would save them around £15 million. And if Dwight McNeil was unavailable or priced over £35 million and Teo turned out to be too expensive in terms of the transfer fee or wage package, I think Alvaro Fernandez could be a very good cheaper alternative. Now he certainly isn't a crossing specialist from deeper positions like McNeil is, but when he's racing forward down the left side, I think Alvaro Fernandez's end product is actually better than Dorgu's, particularly when it comes to making those overlapping runs, receiving the ball down the outside, closer to the byline. His low crossing right across the box or cutbacks to the edge are very good, and I think having Alvaro at left wing back would improve United in the final third. See, I do like Dorgu, but like with Yoro and Garnacho, I think his game is still very raw, and he still has gaps in his game that he has to improve, and I often think it's his crossing which lets him down. I think Dorgu, like Dalot, is more of a fullback than a wingback, whereas Alvaro Fernandez is much more of a wingback than a fullback, reminding me of Marcos Alonso, in terms of being physically and aerially dominant, athletic but also being very good technically in and around the box, particularly when it comes to him getting into shooting positions himself, as like Marcos Alonso was, Alvaro Fernandez can be a goal scoring threat in the final third. I've also watched him quite a bit in the Champions League for Benfica, and whilst he certainly still has errors defensively in his game, not being the most comfortable 1v1 defender, I do think positionally inside of the box, he's a level above Dorgu, and we saw Dorgu's deficiencies in this regard against Lyon for the second goal, where he got drawn in towards the ball and lost his man at the back post. Just from watching him, I think Alvaro Fernandez, when it comes to his body positioning at the back post, gets it right most of the time, even in a back four for Benfica, where he's side on, constantly aware of the player coming round the back, as well as able to see and adjust his position according to the ball, or when any cross does come in. However, of course it's in possession where I think Alvaro Fernandez would improve United most, and when I show you his FBref reports from the Premier League and Champions League this season in just a minute, you'll see exactly why. But from the eye test, what you'll notice about Alvaro Fernandez is that technically he's very good. Whilst Patrick Dorgu probably has a slight edge in terms of physicality and turn of pace, the narrative that Alvaro isn't quick, athletic or physical enough to function as a wingback in the Premier League is just simply false, because he certainly is a powerful runner down the flank, able to provide an outlet for a switch of play or an overlapping run, and in comparison to Dorgu, I think he's a lot more efficient in possession. I don't think he's as clunky when receiving the ball under pressure, having better close ball control, being a bit more fluid when having to shift the ball quickly in order to open up the angle for a pass or turn and race forward quickly, whilst also being a better progressive passer and dribbler in congested areas. And we can see Alvaro's ball progression qualities as well as his creative output in the final third when we look at his FBref reports from this season. In the Premier League, he ranks in the 89th percentile for his non-penalty goals, being a left wing-back that would provide a goal-scoring threat when arriving late from deep or at the back post, having quicker footwork than Dorgu when it comes to manipulating the ball in order to open up a shooting angle, and being a clinical shooter in these type of situations as well, which is where the comparison to Marcos Alonso comes into play. But looking at his passing section of his FBref report, you can see statistically how effective he is as a progressive passer, ranking in the mid-90th percentiles for his progressive passes and passes into the final third, alongside sitting between the 65th and 75th percentile range for his passes into the penalty area as well as his XG assisted. And whilst people may say that this output isn't as impressive as it initially looks, because he is playing for one of the top 3 teams in the Portuguese league, if we go over to his Champions League FBref report from this season, in the 900 minutes he's played, he also looks very impressive, ranking in the low to mid 80th percentiles for his progressive passes, passes into the final third and penalty area, as well as his XG assisted, and also completing a high amount of long passes. And this also extends to his ball carrying and dribbling as well, ranking in the low 90s for his progressive carries and carries into the final third, and only slightly lower for his carries into the penalty area, as well as the 75th and 62nd percentile respectively for his successful take-ons and the percentage of take-ons he completes. Unlike with his progressive passing metrics, his output in the Champions League is around a similar level, slightly lower for his ball carrying but higher for his take-ons. Defensively in both competitions he records a high number of interceptions, which can be backed up by the eye test, with Alvaro being a front foot style of defender, perfectly suited to an aggressive pressing system like the one that Amorim wants to implement at United, where he's able to anticipate passes into the wide player in front of him and have the confidence, assertiveness and the timing to be able to jump out and make the interception to win the ball back high up the pitch. Aerially in the Champions League he doesn't look that dominant, but in a bigger sample size domestically he ranks in the 82nd percentile for the percentage of aerial duels he's won, completing just under 60%. Now to be honest, I don't think that Alvaro Fernandez is significantly better than Dorgu in terms of his current ability or potential, and when looking at Dorgu's ball carrying, tackling and aerial metrics From the small sample size of just under 600 minutes that he's played in the Premier League this season, he does also look very impressive. However, at the moment, I do think Dorgu's end product in the final third is very inconsistent. Sometimes he is able to put in a dangerous low cross across the box when being released in behind the fullback, but particularly when he's required to put in an aerial cross either close to the byline or from deeper positions, he does quite frequently either over or under hit the cross, and in general I do feel that at this stage in his development he can be quite erratic when receiving the ball in congested areas in the final third in 1v1s and around the box in crossing or shooting positions, whereas I do think that Alvaro Fernandez is a bit more composed, a better decision maker and more efficient with his technique overall. And so bringing the Benfica man into the left wing back role in Amorim's 3-4-3 I think improves United's ball progression down the left side as well as the output in the final third. Offensively, I don't think Alvaro will provide the same sort of output as either a Theo Hernandez or a Dwight McNeil, but he would be 3 or 4 times less expensive, which is also the case for Maxi Oyedele, in comparison to players like Hayden Hackney or Manu Kone, which would then free up money in the budget for United to pursue more expensive targets such as Matheus Cunha, Victor Gyokeres and maybe also someone like Adam Wharton. Alvaro Fernandez, Dorgu and maybe one of Amas or Leon, depending on who stays at United and who goes on loan, I think it's a pretty good set of left wing back options, with Alvaro and Dorgu potentially also being able to be developed as left-sided centre-backs in the long-term future as well, whilst Oyedele coming into the squad as an option replacing Eriksen behind the likes of Agate, Bruno Menu and the more expensive starting central midfield signing would not only give United added athleticism and physicality that we desperately need in central midfield, but also a player in his early 20s who is already an effective ball winner and progressive passer, with a lot of potential to improve further. So let me know what you think of potentially re-signing Maxi Oyedele and Alvaro Fernandez in the comment section below. And if you do want to check out any cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to dragonjersey.com. You can use code Atlantis at checkout for a 10% discount, so I'll leave it linked in the description and in the comment section below. Also, if you want to read any of my articles, you can get a 7-day free trial, or you can sign up to my in-game Instagram group chat, so I'll leave that linked on the end screen now as well.